everyone, and welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park for the very first Rennsport Motor Racing Festival in Australia. Aaron Noonan, this is a two-day celebration of everything Porsche, both on and off the track.
Ron, if you like Porsches, we've got it for you today. There's not just racing, Carrera Cup, GT3 Cup Challenge, historics, there's regularity trials. We've got it all covered. There's even cars from the Porsche Museum that have come from Germany. And if you like what you see, they've gone to the full extreme here at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend. There's a new car showroom here as well. So if you're a Porsche fan, this is the place to be.
Yeah, it's a really interactive event and a very important one also for Porsche Cars Australia. We went and found out why.
Well, Rennsport Australia is the biggest gathering of competitive Porsches that we've ever seen. 240 cars on track, another 100 plus in show and shine and concourse, and it's really just a celebration of Porsche's DNA, if you like, its motorsport heritage.
It's something that's been done overseas. Why has it taken so long to come to Australia?
Well, yes, there's a lot of planning required. We started this about a year ago. The whole planning set up. It was an idea that was actually started by the Carrera Cup guys who wanted to do a race where they could do an endurance race or have a lot greater amount of track time. And then that sort of snowballed into this bigger thing, and we obviously knew of and had been to the Rennsport festivities in the US, essentially. Ours is a little different in that we are putting ours with the modern cars, so it's headlined by Carrera Cup. We have Carrera Cup Championship, we have GT3 Cup Challenge, and we brought the historic Porsches in as well, and regularity, and show and shine, and we've tried to put everybody together. Obviously we have fewer cars in this market than somewhere like America, but I reckon we have more enthusiasm.
For the future, where could this event go? Will it become a yearly thing, a bi-yearly thing? What's the plan?
I think this will be something that we might do every 3 years, similar to what they do in the States. I think, you make it a real event then, and everybody comes together and they make a real effort to do it. If you do it annually, it tends to be more of the, okay, well, I'll skip this year and do next year, and we want it to be as big as it is this year, bigger. Hopefully it'll get bigger. So we'll have a look afterwards. We'll sit down on Monday and have a little chat about it.
What about the feedback that you've had from the event in terms of competitors, of enthusiasts, of collectors? General feedback good?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, I'm blown away by the enthusiasm that people have, and they're so keen to sort of come up and tell us that what a great time they're having and how much they're enjoying it. We've turned on the weather. That always helps. It wasn't quite like this on Thursday and Friday when we were setting up, and so. Overall, I mean, some of the stories are just amazing. People who were, telling me, they were involved with Porsche, actually before I was born, which is quite a long time ago now, and then people who are, really new to it and the younger element, and that's what we want. We just want to sort of create this. We've got a great deal of passion around this brand, and really an event like this brings everybody together in one place, and allows them all to celebrate, what Porsche does best.
What's so great about Porsche is that, yeah, sure, they've got a great history in motorsport, but no, they don't like just sticking the cars in museums to never be touched or seen again. They like getting them out to tracks. And here this weekend at Rennsport and the Porsche Strasser tent, the fans can get up close and have a look at these cars in the skin like this beautiful Le Mans winning 936 Porsche. But what's even better is they get to see them where they really want to see them, out on the track.
feature piece part of Porsche Rennsport is round 3 of 2013 for Porsche Carrera Cup, and in a first, a unique endurance driver format. 2 drivers in each car, both drivers qualifying their combined times sorting the grid for race 1. James Kandouris started on pole in the Superbarn car, Shay Davies alongside for Team Kiwi, with a great blend of professional and amateur drivers set to run in race 1. 60 minutes on the clock and the action started.
We're underway, race 1, Porsche Carrera Cup here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and this is a brand new thing for Porsche Motorsport in Australia, and I think it's going to be exciting.
Riding on board the Hallmark Porsche, this is Johnny Reid, late replacement for Lee Holdsworth with Michael Lochisano, down to turn 2, and look at Kandouris, he's already been swamped, the professionals have got through. Shay Davies leads the way for Team Kiwi Racing, Warren Love second, Alex Davison next, then it's Michael Patrizzi in the car that he shares with the 3-time World Superbike champion Troy Bayliss. David Russell is on board his number 56 car. So there's a rain. Oh, have a look at this. There's a car spun pole sitter. James Kandouris has had a spin. He'll get it going again, but this will put them outside the top 10. And this will be a mountain that I don't think Steve Owen can climb.
Well, Steve's very, very fast, and he's got a long relationship of working with the Kandouris too in endurance racing. They've been a pole at the 12-hour amongst other races, but that's going to be a big effort. They've lost a lot of time, and in a field this competitive, it is going to be so tough for them to make that up. What they need now is a safety car, and in a field this competitive and this talented, that might be a rare thing. That's a bit of debris on the start-finish straight too. Now that is the last thing you need at this place, to collect that at 220 odd k's an hour, running into one of the fastest corners in Australian motorsport. That's a worry. They'll need to keep an eye on that for the rest of the race.
And have a look at this move. Turn 2 is all the rage today, Rich. Shane Smolin down the inside on Troy Bayliss, and he gets the move done. And this 56 car, David Russell told me earlier in the weekend that they just engineered it to a standstill. It was like a bus in qualifying, hence why they started back on 11th spot, halfway back on the grid. But this is a really, really good fight, and that's the replay of the move down at turn 2 from on board with Troy Bayliss, who has done a really good job this weekend. He has done some testing. Remember, he did the V8 Supercar Enduros a few years back with Dean Fiore, so he's not a total newbie to four-wheeled racing, but he's doing a good job.
Now this is the car to watch, we think. The 222 entry, Nick Percat, absolutely flying.
Down the inside on Theo Kandouris on board Stephen Richards' car, and Percat with 4 green Michelin tyres, brand new. He saved them up, he's using them in this segment of the race. Now, this is a problem. Tony Bates was sitting on target for a top 3 race result here, and looks like it's lost all drive on the exit of turn 1, and he's pulling over. The day is done for he and Alex Davison. Car 222 started 10th on the grid. He is really charging through the field. Look at this move. Down the inside, Troy Bayliss makes a move on Shane Smolin. He goes in wide. Percat's going to have to pick his moment here because these two are having a battle.
It's Bayliss v Smolin's been going on for about 5 laps, so that's just ongoing. Percat now gets himself in the middle, clears one half of that battle, looks down to turn 4, and it's crucial that now he gets past because he's reeling in the leader at the moment. Great drive by Nick Percat. He'll clear him into 5. He gets it done. Does he? Yes. Just enough racing room left. So the Cotai Porsche continues to charge forward. 4 new Michelins on this car. It is a rocket ship at the moment, and Percat doing the job. Now this is the battle. Percat right now on the back of Adam Gowans is in the 21 car. This is for the lead. It's game on at Sydney Motorsport Park.
And
what a drive.
The clock's ticking, Rich. This will be, next time around, 1 lap. This is it, last lap. Nick Percat is in sight of the lead of the motor race. This car started 10th on the grid. Rodney James started. Now Adam Gowans, he's going for the win. He does defend at turn 2. He will not make it easy. He knows Percat's faster, but he's not going to go down without a fight.
It's been a while for between Drekes for Team BRM, the team that runs the 222 car. Great drive out of turn 2, side by side through 3, wraps him up, and Nick Percat goes to the front. What a charge through the field this has been. But this one, Noons, it's all Nick Percat. What a drive.
What a way to win too. The first enduro race in Carrera Cup Australia history. Nick Percat and Rodney Jane will break through for Coates Hire at Sydney Motorsport Park. From 10th on the grid, they've come charging through. The enduro format has delivered. Percat and Jane have as well. They pick up race 1 this weekend at Rennsport, and it's congratulations all round for Team BRM. That's a great result.
First Carrera Cup victories for both Nick Percat and Rodney Jane for Coates Hire Racing and Team BRM, and that meant that the 222 car would start from pole position for the second race, with the drivers that finished race 1 on the grid for race 2.
Set to go, race 2 at Sydney Motorsport Park, and it's a slow start from Nick Percat. Looks like the rest of them have really got away down to turn 1. Adam Gowans is through. Look at that down the inside. Luke Yilden on board the Max Twig Permagard Porsche. They've already started to shuffle Percat back. That's an uncharacteristic slow start, but he's already back down the inside trying to get third spot back into turn 2 as we've got this great mix again. Professionals and elites, but it's in reverse from race 1. Bayless is wide, Baird's through. Battle for 11th here is raging. Theo Kondouris loses the spot. Now this is the Duvashan Padiachi car that he shares with Jeff Bobbick, the former GT3 Cup race winning, and in fact runner-up in that series in the past before. This is really rumbling. They're not even in the top 10.
I spoke to the team about Jeff and they said, geez, an enthusiastic guy. And Jeff's always been one to really pump himself up, and he takes his motorsport very seriously. He's just stepped back from the GT3 Cup Challenge Series this year, but was pretty happy to get a phone call from the Padiachis to jump in that car.
Have a look at this. That's Theo Kondouris. He's driven straight past Stephen Richards' pit crew. I don't know where he's going or who he thinks he's going to park with, but
he's going to have to go through and do another lap, and that's just going to cost them so much track time. Remember, Richards second in the championship coming into this weekend after a strong start to the year, so that's just going to cost them a huge amount of time. And troubles for the McGrath team as well, just getting Shane Smollen out of that car.
Car 47 is James Kondouris, so he is the next of the elite class drivers. Davies is wide, Patrizzi's in the gap, so he's the best pro on the road. That could be the motor race. That could effectively have been for the win.
Yeah, and every car up the road from now is for track position like this, with James Kondouris and Patrizzi can just bide his time. He will get past eventually. He's quicker, doesn't need to jam it up the inside at turn 4, and he decided not to, so a good move from Michael Patrizzi just to back out. So this race unfolding, evolving. These are the two leading cars, first and second on the road, but they've got elite division drivers behind the wheel, and they're getting mauled down by Patrizzi and Davies, who are the two first pros on the road. This is all coming to a head at the end of this race, exactly like it did in race 1, and that's what we like so much about this format, Noons. It just saves it all up for the last 15 minutes of the race.
And we're not talking hundredths and tenths of seconds, Rich, in difference of lap times. It's chunks of seconds between those leading cars and this chasing pack. So Patrizzi is through on James Kondouris. Davies is delayed. He can't get it done. He's lost margin to the Western Australian. Now he gets in the gap. Now he gets the Team Kiwi car through. But look at the margin that he's lost to Patrizzi. That's going to be hard to make up.
Michael Patrizzi driving extremely well in the Ausdrill car and hauling in the cars in front. Now this, Aaron, is where it's all at. This is a battle. It's getting there.
It's on because Michael Patrizzi is charging. He is catching car number 8, Max Twig. Let's have a look at a replay. This is how he got by car number 1 with John Penny, the Kiwi, on board Craig Baird's car, and he's all over the back of Max Twig and just doing some numbers here, racing around on the line. Patrizzi's in the gap. He's through to the lead. Boy, this has been an entertaining race format. It's going to the wire. Look at the background. Davies has got through also on Penny. That's for 3rd place. Patrizzi could add to his 3 Carrera Cup race wins. Troy Bayliss could win a Carrera Cup race. Who would have ever thought?
Your keyboard's on fire trying to keep up with the stats at the moment.
This is the revival of Steve Richards. Remember, Theo Kondouris missed the pit bay for his pit stop, did another lap, came around, Richo jumped on board, and he's just trying to salvage whatever he can. I think he's P14 now, so he's gone by Mark Sini, and we said about co-drivers costing you a championship. That may have been the case. Look at this, back at the front, we're on the final lap. Davies down the inside, Patrizzi's dropped back through, and at front, Max Twig is back in the lead. There's a drama for the 29 Porsche.
Yeah, so the race has changed in the space of a few corners, and the race is slipping away from Michael Patrizzi. Such a good drive through the field, and it's going away. What's going on with the 29 car?
We're hearing from pit lane, Rich, there's a gearbox issue with that car. It's been going on apparently for the last couple of laps. He's dropped pace, he's dropped positions. He's going to miss the win, not just in the race, but for the round as well. Max Twig is on target to win the weekend and the race. Max Twig Rich made his Carrera Cup debut at Bathurst in 2006. He's worked his way up through the field. He's become the star of the elite category. Today, he's going to win a race outright. He'll pick up round 3 at the Porsche Rennsport event at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's Twig and Yulden who claim the round in the race, and it's a 1-2 for the team because the Team Kiwi car is home second.
More firsts in this race with Max Twig finally breaking through for his maiden Carrera Cup race victory. Luke Yulden was alongside him. Davies and Gowans were second, and Warren Luff and Jeff Emery completed the podium.
There are plenty of cars in the Porsche Australia that just catch your attention, such as Alan Hamilton's 1968 911 TR, widely known as the car that very nearly won the Australian Touring Car Championship.
The first real race we had was the 68 Touring Car Championship at Warwick Farm. We were lying second until the very last lap of the race when I blew a tyre going into Creek Corner, which dropped me to third place and finishing on a blown tyre. During 1969 it became a series for the first time instead of a single race, and we missed out on winning the Touring Car Championship there by about 5 metres. Norm Beachy just managed to cross the line in front of us at Simmons Plains with a dead Holden Monaro, but we couldn't bridge the gap. During 1969 we were actually motor racing with this car on 32 weekends out of the year. So that included hill climbs and little country meetings and everything. The car was phenomenally reliable and was a great adjunct to Porsche racing, and of course that encouraged McEwen and Foley to take up touring car racing the following year in their 2.3 litre cars, one of which is here today. Oh, no, both are here today. Sorry. It was a ripper little car and I would love to own it today. We were giving up a lot of horsepower, but the thing was so fast off the starting line compared to the V8 supercars. Tyres weren't what they are today. They didn't have the grip that they have today. And our little car used to squat its bum on the ground and take off like a jackrabbit. And even at places like Sandown, I figured if I could get onto the back straight with enough lead after the first 2 corners, I could probably hold them out until we got to Dandenong Road. And certainly at Lakeside, which was one of the fastest tracks in Australia, the car won the Lakeside Gold Medal Series just simply on the strength of that and being very quick out of the slow corners.
Well, from one Porsche legend to another, it just wouldn't be Rennsport or a big Porsche festival without this guy, Jim Richards.
There's models of Porsches that I haven't seen before, basically, and I am a Porsche person, so it's great. And the fact that it's just Porsches is amazing. I've heard about these events all around the world, but never actually been to one. I think that Porsche's name around the world resonates very strongly, and the fact that there's fantastic clubs here that are Porsche owners, and the fact that Porsche has a reputation of being a reliable, great-looking car that's really stuck to its originality over the years.
Stay with us after the break. More action from Porsche Rennsport at Sydney Motorsport Park. Well, this weekend at Rennsport at Sydney Motorsport Park, we have a taste of the future for Carrera Cup. This car on display in Australia for the first time is the spec car that Carrera Cup will run next year. It's bigger, meaner and badder. More power with 460 horsepower. It's longer in the wheelbase by another 100 millimetres. And for the first time in a Porsche Carrera Cup car, it's got a paddle shift gearbox, Formula One style. They look the part and the drivers can't wait to get their hands on them for next season. They like what they see.
See the real evolution of the car through the new 991 model, but I think the bigger tyres and a round of bulbous headlights and stuff, it's a cool looking bit of gear. Really good.
Oh, it's great. The paddle shift's going to make it so much different and I suppose a little bit easier than the current system, so really looking forward. Can't wait to get in it. It's a wider track and a wider wheels, the rear wing's bigger, so the aero's going to be fantastic on it. It just looks tough.
Yeah, looks good. Reminds me a little bit of the Cup S, and the paddle shift is certainly one good feature, but I think the aero certainly excites me.
The process now, we can run a blipper in the car, but I think the paddle shift will make it easier. It's one less thing to worry about, to have to take hand off the steering wheel, so it should hopefully hedge the gap just a fraction.
Carrera Cup's always been a bit raw, and all the road cars are heading in that direction with PDK transmissions and things like that. So the good thing is, the easier it makes it for some of the less professional drivers, the more people we can get into the category. They want to make sure that every model evolution is a slight performance gain, and it's still a very raw car. You know, there's no ABS. It's all about the driver and being able to work with a very limited toolbox to make the car go. But I think moving forward, it's the right way to go for a Carrera Cup for sure.
I'm keen. I'm really keen. I can't wait. They've got to put my number on one of those cars.
Plenty of on and off track action here at Porsche Rennsport at Sydney Motorsport Park, and a big part is round 2 of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Pirelli. A 3-race format with 2 sprints and 1 enduro, and here's a look at some of the highlights. There's some good starts. Stephen Grove got away very well. Grant Sparks in the 44, a solid start, but it was the 2 men that battled for round 1 on us at Malala, dicing for the lead through turn 1. Armand led early. Great move by Muscat up the inside. Little bit of a touch between the 2, and he led the field up to that very tight turn 2. John Goodacre to 3rd. The South Australian Chad was going very well. Phil Woodbury next, and Fraser Ross running inside the top 5.
Important to mention also, Kralsey, this weekend we've got the differentiating markers between the elite and pros here this week. We'll talk a bit more about that as the weekend goes on. Another good move up the inside. John Morris, one of the elite drivers this weekend, up the inside of Stephen Grove.
And this was a great fight. Woodbury down the inside at turn 5. Always tough to make a move there, but he had plenty of commitment and got up the inside, and that allowed the Victorian in the Porsche Centre Brighton 65, Fraser Ross, to go through. And John Goodacre found himself shuffled down 2 places in the space of a couple of corners. Meanwhile, the leaders doing it all on their own. It was Muscat leading Armand by a couple of seconds, with Phil Woodbury closing in the 17 car.
Yeah, Fraser Ross turning some pretty quick times to finish in 3rd. This is further back. This run up to turn 2, the hairpin. So much action here all weekend long.
Jordan Ormsby with a great pass. He got that position done on the legend Peter Fitzgerald. John Modista, the Liquimoli car just in front. And Jordan Ormsby's car was one that created a lot of attention over the weekend. The RS Spec Porsche running in the open class. Big move down the inside, and he was making some headway in this one.
Until just looped around. Modista did a great job to miss it. So too the veteran of Fitzgerald, and he was quick to get out of that one. Ormsby, the RS. It sounds so cool on the track, this thing, but just a bit too hectic there. But that's all right. This guy, Richard Muscat, cruising through a clean race win on top of his pole position, and that closes the championship battle up between himself and Michael Armand after the first race.
So confirming results, Muscat wins at Armand's 2nd, strong 3rd for Phil Woodbury, with John Goodacre and John Morris rounding out the top 5. Well, race 1 of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge presented by Pirelli was exciting. Race 2 was even better. These are the highlights. Very slow start from Aaron Zerafos. He went backwards quickly and had to work his way through from the back of the field. But Chad, there were some great starts at the front. John Goodacre driving with his pants on fire this weekend, round the outside at turn 1, dicing with Michael Armand for the race lead.
And check out this for a bit of opposite lock. Yep, that's all right. We'll just get these tyres baking nice and early, smoking the Pirellis out of turn number 2. This is a whole race long, man. This was just battles going absolutely everywhere.
And a slow start for Richard Muscat, our race 1 winner. He dropped back. More of John Goodacre holding on. Cooked his rear Pirellis early and was struggling with them, not up to temperature on the opening lap. Muscat was able to get through, and he continued his charge forward. Fraser Ross past Stephen Grove, but there were more dramas. Onboard shot from Peter Fitzgerald shows John Morris spearing off at turn 2. Very lucky not to be collected by anybody else up there. Very fast part of the racetrack.
Have a look at this, a tank slapper, a huge tank slapper coming into turn 4 and lights the Pirellis up. Michael Armand struggling on these tyres early, holding on to that race lead. Muscat now moving up into 2nd, and this would end up being a terrific battle between the entire top 5. John Goodacre getting slotted back another one as well. Down into turn 4. Okay, battle for the lead. Richard Muscat, Michael Armand, 1st and 2nd in the championship. Muscat goes through, Armand gets him straight back.
So that's 1. Watch that. Keep count, because it's not the first time it happens in this race. Muscat continued to apply the pressure. Remember, he broke the GT3 Cup Challenge lap record in race 1. That's 2 down the inside at turn 4, but the Toshiba Copywell car, Michael Armand, was not finished yet. Down into turn 6, he challenged for the lead. Almost contact between the 2, but again, that's not finished yet. There's more to come.
right when you would think that this was just about done and dusted, Muscat's going to drive away with it, no way. Michael Arman putting these Pirellis to the test early on. It would actually come back to haunt him a little bit. He has the lead here. Once more, how about this one? 220 k's an hour, the dive into turn 1, that's commitment.
4 changes of the lead in just the space of a couple of laps. Great racing at the front of the GT3 Cup Challenge field. Arman by then, tyres struggling, dropped back into the hands of Phil Woodbury. And then there was a battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th place with Fraser Ross getting himself up into this fight too. And the intensity level in this race, Chad, just did not drop.
So Ross is sitting behind these two. They dip down into the hill. Woodbury takes over 2nd spot, just pushes Armand out wide, but how good is that extra bit of runoff area? Gives him more room to move some of the changes and developments around this racetrack, but Woodbury threw it away out of the top 3.
Yeah, he'd be frustrated with that too. Big mistake at turn 6, but I think the story of this race was everybody hanging on. Great battle for 2nd. We watched this car sideways, Michael Armand, out on the apron into 6, and then just the other side of the road. Someone should tell him it's not drifting.
Awesome battle this was. Armand was just busy all race long. Eventually Ross got the better of him, so he gave him a bit of a love tap running back down the hill. Bit of a bump and run, pushed him out wide. Couldn't quite get the nose of the Toshiba Porsche up the inside, but Richard Muscat home for 1st position. Checkered flag is out. 2 from 2 for the weekend. Fraser Ross, a fantastic job to come home in 2nd.
So Ross getting the better of Armand for 2nd and 3rd place. Another 4th for John Goodacre. Strong weekend for him. Woodbury, P5. Stephen Grove next, and Peter Fitzgerald and John Modista rounded out the top 8. So after 2 short sprint races, it all came down to a 1-hour enduro that completed round 2 of GT3 Cup Challenge.
It's been a huge event. It's culminating in this monster 1-hour race. The 2 leaders are slow to get away, and once again, John Goodacre splits the middle and should lead them into 1.
Long-time GT3 Cup Challenge racer Terry Knight on the headset with John Goodacre this season and been coaching him through a bit of contact at the back. Sparks got a hit there at turn 1, the last place you want to do that, but it looks like he's survived. One of the Rent Corp Porsches going through.
He's got a tyre going down, I reckon.
Yeah, he's going backwards quickly. Meanwhile, turn 2, Goodacre leads. Armand 2nd. 3 races this weekend so far. Richard Muscat has gone backwards on the start 3 times. Fortunately, he's got plenty of car speed to work his way forward.
This could be the chance for Muscat up the inside of his good sparring partner Michael Arman, and that is a regulation move around here, copybook stuff.
He's got plenty of grip, good corner exit there out of turn 1 too. We saw him make moves there in race 2 in the 2nd of the 2 sprint races and was able to clear cars through the mid corner at 1, so his car's operating really well. So the South Australian and the Victorian, Chad, having a bit of a battle for the race lead. That won't add to the fire there at all, I'm sure, as Peter Fitzgerald now in his 2nd round of GT3 Cup said at Mallala that I think this might just be a one-off, but we'll see how we go. And oh no, we'll go to Rennsport, and I think we'll go to round 3 as well. He's been going well. Down the inside at turn 1, 220 k's an hour, and Muscat clears Goodacre for the lead.
It's such a wild spot to put a move on someone that if you come together, if the guy on the outside doesn't see you in time for the turn-in, as Armand also wants to get the move done on Goodacre as well, it's not going to quite happen there. They just run it out wide in turn 2. You can take so many different lines through there. But in that turn 1 area, if you touch at 200 k's an hour there, you can have a monumental accident.
Well, it takes 2 drivers to make a move like that. It takes commitment from Muscat to fire it up the inside, as we see Armand trying to do the same thing at turn 4. Similar kind of corner, not quite as fast, but it was good on John Goodacre to give him racing room to move out into the marbles on the outside of the circuit and just let him go through and take that lead. Good fight for 2nd place. Armand now down the inside. Was hanging on for dear life in race 2. I might have cooked the Pirellis a little bit too hard too early and plenty of sliding round, but boy, he's been good this season.
And this is a desperate battle for Michael Arman because the race leader, your championship leader, is getting away from him. He doesn't want to make contact and get himself a penalty, or he had a little bit of a tag with Fraser Ross. But here we go. Goodacre runs out wide. There's just that little bit more room to play with out there. They're going to go side by side towards the top end of the circuit. Just gets through. So now he's moved into 2nd and he can set his sights on the race leader. He's got a lot of time to make up that gap. This is Goodacre once more, and Fraser Ross is desperately trying to make up some positions after a slow start, and he's just got the drive through there.
Side by side through turn 5, Goodacre holding on, knows where to position his car without getting into too much trouble, and that actually worked really well for Fraser. He played that nicely, did the switch back outside to inside at 6 and gets through. And turn 6 is one of the parts they've really worked on this racetrack. They've reprofiled that corner at the start of the 2012 racing season, and it's allowed for much more overtaking. There used to be that annoying little dogleg going into it, which drivers said was good fun to drive, but it didn't make for good overtaking. That's Indram Padiachi off the road in the 35 Rentcorp car. 2 cars from Rentcorp Motorsport this weekend. Of the Padiachi name sounds familiar because his son Devarshan running in Porsche Carrera Cup this season.
Just got on the gas a little bit too early. It's so easy to do. Rennsport, what a great event it's been so far, and these 911s on track, celebrating 50 years of the 911 as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and of course the brand new car coming out this year, the road car, which will find its way into racing, the next generation Porsche Carrera Cup car on its way to Australia in the near future as well. That's running in Porsche Super Cup right at the very top, the Porsche Motorsport pyramid this year, as we see finally Boylan get through on Zerafos just before turn 1, change the position for 10th. Lap record went this weekend as well, set in race 1. Since then the pace has dropped off. Sydney Motorsport Park tends to change a lot over the course of a day in terms of track temperature and the lap times it can produce, but that man Richard Muscat, qualifying lap record, smashed the lap record in race 1. He's been good. He's had to work for it though, hasn't he? It's never gone all his way in one of these races.
He's pulled out a bit of a lead here, and he's actually starting to work his way through a bit of traffic, including, we saw him just go around Anthony Skinner, and now Jack Feller, who's the only, well, now West Aussie we can say in the field, like you were saying earlier, the former powerboat racer. This is Muscat. Brake lights blazing, picking his way through Boylan.
Oh, and into the tyres. So between turn 4 and 5.
So easy to do in that change of direction. If you just get out on the left-hand side of that rear Pirelli tyre, it's the side that actually doesn't have a lot of work to do, so you might not change it throughout the weekend, and it can just catch you out, and that's an awkward spot to pull back in front of the racetrack.
Boylan's done a reasonable job. Not a massive amount of damage to the Boylan refrigeration entry, just crashed on the outside. We say this a lot about that corner. It's not the first time anyone's crashed there, and it certainly won't be the last. Richard Muscat, Chad, what a great performance it's been this weekend.
Comes down the hill, popping through those gears, sequential gearbox, left-hand drive Porsches, comes over to salute the mechanics and engineers on the fence, and once again, that's an awesome weekend. 3 wins from 3 starts, the first person to ever take all 3 wins here at Sydney Motorsport Park as well. Kane Rose got close last year, I think, but awesome effort from Rich Muscat. And how about this guy? Another solid second to go on the back of, well, he's in the top 3 all weekend.
Yeah, great run from Michael Arment, though. He ended up a fair way down the road to our dominant winner, Richard Muscat, in that. As we confirm results for you, Fraser Ross was 3rd. Goodacre takes home the Elite Division battle. He was 4th. Peter Fitzgerald 5th. Stephen Grove 6th and 2nd in Elite, ahead of John Caratinos, with Anthony Skinner rounding out the top 8.
The Porsche Driving School has a presence here at the Rennsport Festival. Thomas, what is the Porsche Driving School all about?
Well, it's all about teach people how to drive the cars the proper way. To start with, Porsches, they're probably the closest thing in the performance you get to a race car, and people need to drive it the right way. And it's a long history of Porsche Sports Driving School, not just in Australia, around the world. And yes, we do have a present in this meeting in here, and we try to introduce more people to Porsche product.
What sort of skills do you teach people in the driving school?
Well, it's just more about the dynamics of the cars, and trying to sort of open up a little bit door for them to look that driving, it's more of it, more involved than just pushing on the pedals and steering and turning the steering wheel.
People here at Rennsport can have a go themselves. It's part of the interactive part of this festival.
Oh yeah, it was a huge queue in there in the morning. We had to shut it down now for morning tea and for you all to come in here and have a talk to us. And it's, I think it's quite exciting that anyone can walk in and drive a Porsche.
Well, it looks to me like I've got this skid pan all to myself. Can I have a go?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, do you need a co-driver? I've got Dean Canto somewhere hiding, but he'd like to have a go with you and teach you how to drive around.
All right, Dean, it's on. Let's go.
Do I have to do this?
What could possibly go wrong? Right. How do I turn it on?
That's not a good start. How do I turn it on? Have you got your driver's license?
That was awesome. These things actually go all right. I think they sell them up the hill. I might have to go and put one on Aaron's credit card.
Well, part of the massive program at Porsche Rennsport was the Porsche sports car category, and basically, Aaron Noonan, if it's got a Porsche badge, you can go racing 944s, 911s, Cup cars, and a very special car started race 3 right from the very back of the field.
You might recognise it, Rich, a Porsche 956 in the hands of Russell Kempnich. This is one of the ex-Vern Schuppen cars that raced in Japan. Now, he elected to start at the back of the grid in that 1980s Group C rocket ship because he knew that that car was way too fast for the rest of these cars, and it turned it into a really entertaining 15-minute timed race where he came from last on the grid and started to work his way through the traffic. But have a look at this, 996s, 997s, RSRs. There's something from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and there's another ex-Le Mans GT3R Porsche in the field too.
William Holzheimer was the man who led early in the 22 996 GT3 Cup car, but Bill Pye in the number 10, he was a feature in this race as well. And the Porsche 944 is part of the Victorian series. A lot of those guys made the trip up here to Sydney Motorsport Park, but there is that amazing Le Mans spec 956C Porsche. Incredible car. And there's Phil Holzberger's entry that he's had in Australia since 2005, brought it from the Racers Group directly from where it was running in the American Le Mans series. It remains in the same spec with the same livery. Very cool piece of Porsche racing heritage.
And it won its class, Rich, at the 2002 Le Mans 24-hour race that I was lucky enough to actually be at and see that car in action. But Porsche sports cars, anything and everything here. Pretty much, if you've got a Porsche, you can run. We saw a shot there of Paul Gert in the number 75 Carrera. A bit of everything, but the problem was, for everybody else, including Jeremy Norris here in the number 92 GT3, no match for a 956 from the 1980s.
Well, Russell running round through traffic doing 1:33s at Sydney Motorsport Park, not too far off the outright pace at the front of the Porsche Carrera Cup field, which is pretty remarkable given the age of the car and the fact he would have been taking it easy. Don't want to put a scratch on it. The 944s, however, did things a little bit differently. The 47 car got turned round. John Stanek, one of the many 944s running in this field, and they just went to war like they always do.
And they went to war not just with one another, but with everybody else that was in the field. 23 cars on the grid for this final race of 3 for the weekend in the Porsche sports car category. Outside the top 10, the fights were just as good as they were inside the top 10. Lots of familiar names that ran at the front. Bill Pye and Greg Keane, Amanda Sparks we know from Touring Car Masters as well, but the action outside the top 10 was just as good.
Yeah, John Goddard was attacking Mark Lauke, the South Australian, in his older spec 911, but Russ Kempnich, meanwhile, got himself to the front of the field and started driving away, as you'd expect from this car, but this wasn't so much Noons about the race result, it was about seeing this cool car in action.
Absolutely, Rich. 32 seconds clear, he crossed the line. 15 minutes at the end of race 3, 7 laps completed, and a country mile back to second place, which went right down to the wire.
Yeah, Phil Holzberger got a good run on Bill Pye, very experienced Porsche racer, a former Porsche Cup champion in his own right, and it was a drag race between 911s new and old, and at the end, Phil Holzberger just got there at the checkered flag at the end of a 15-minute race that turned out to be 7 laps here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Very entertaining one. Greg Keane finished 4th of another familiar Porsche name. Michael Clout was next. Jeremy Norris. Amanda Sparks raced to 7th, and Stannard was 8th.
Tom McGann, best of the 944s in P9 from Graham Smith. John Pooley next, and Steve Webb in position 12.
When you think about Porsches, you think about beautiful, clean sports cars, but they also make some very nice four-wheel drives as well. And while sure they do have that luxury appeal, they don't mind getting them dirty. And here this weekend, Ian Dyke from the Porsche Sport Driving School is going to teach us a thing or two about driving off-road. Well, as you say, most of the time we like to keep them on road, but they are very capable off-roaders, and the beautiful thing is the car does all of the work. I'm more familiar with driving on tarmac than I am up and down these hills, but the car's so good, it's just basically a case of point it where you want to go and let the car do all of the hard stuff. We've got the whole lineup of cars up there, so we use all of the new Cayennes, and this particular one behind us is a diesel engine. It's got a huge amount of torque. It's got 550 newton meters of torque, which makes it fantastic for getting up and down these hills. And with all of the electronic aids like PSM and descent control, it makes the driver's job very, very easy. From inside the car, you wouldn't expect it to be going off-road. It's very comfortable and it's very neat and tidy in there. So as you say, it's a bit hard to see the extremities of the vehicle, but as you drive around, you get familiar with the size of the car. It's really easy. It's just such an impressive car. You know, they're able to be driven in comfort on road or even in a performance environment on the tarmac, and then to be able to come out here and master these hills is also very impressive.
Plenty of on-track activity at Rennsport, and the Porsche Historics with Group S and Group N made for a big field. They had 3 races for the weekend. Let's take a look at the highlights of races 2 and 3. And Richard Craill, Group N Porsches in this category, they raced as touring cars from the mid-60s through to the end of 1972. And Group S, production sports cars, is a growing category in Australia. Porsches of all models, as long as they were built before the end of 1977. So the mix and blend in this racing this weekend at Rennsport has been fantastic.
It has some great names in this field. Sven Boykart's the former Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Series winner, led the field up to turn 2 for the first of 6 laps in this race. But the driver to watch was the man behind the wheel of car 41, Jeff Morgan, a well-known name in Aussie motorsport, but Porsche competition as well. He didn't finish the first race, started this one from the back of the field, very quickly made quick work of charging through it.
And set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.21. It was significantly faster than anything that any other driver could put onto the racetrack. Having a look here at Wayne Seabrook in the 68.911, slipping down the inside and picking up a spot on Peter Eames, who would also become a DNF in this race. Sven Boykarts, you mentioned, ran at the front. He was in and among some of the fast cars early, but Jeff Morgan was the guy who really would be the one to watch. Sven Boykarts ended up not finishing this race, but the fight was really good at the front.
Yeah, Stan Adler made his way past Big Sven up at turn 2, managed to get the position. Sven had taken some time away from racing the last couple of years to grow his family down in his native Victoria, but nice to see him back behind the wheel of that very lovely Porsche Carrera, the 11 car there on screen. But Jeff Morgan was charging his way through the field, and at one point was lapping 2 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else, and he was making quite the impact. But as Stan Adler worked his way to the front of the field, he was looking like the man that would take this race out, but he needed to keep one eye on his rearview mirror.
He got the move done on Andy Purvis down into turn 1, and the fight continued over the other side of the circuit through the sweeping left-hander. Peter Boylan in the 73 car, really familiar name to Australian motorsport fans, and indeed a Porsche enthusiast and racer of GT3 Cup cars and the like. But Jeff Morgan got pedalling and he got his way to the front. He drag raced with Stan Adler to the line. In the space of 6 laps, he went from the back to the front and picked up race 2.
It would mean he would start the 3rd race from pole position. A great drive, but unfortunately for Jeff, he didn't get his car off the line particularly well, and he'd end up having to do all that work again, although not quite as much, it had to be said, as race 2.
No, and it was great to see so many cars in this category over the course of the weekend. 28 lined up on the grid for the 3rd race. Usually after 3 races you start to lose a couple of these cars, but up front the fight would be on again down to turn 2. Purvis and Adler, who had been dicing in race 2, ended up back on track together at race 3. It would change things a little bit, as you will see very shortly.
It would. The 17 car Purvis made a good start though and led the field round the back of Sydney Motorsport Park. There was dramas for Wayne Seabrook, who ran pretty strongly inside the top 10 in race 2, and this is what would happen. Contact down at turn 4 and an unfortunate ending. The 2 leaders crashing themselves out of the race.
And plenty of damage for both of them. Luckily, though, the historic category this weekend, sponsored by Exclusive Bodyworks, both would need some. It would also bring out the safety car, Rich. It would do a couple of slow laps, bunch the field up. Peter Boylan led us back to the restart line, and it turned into a 2-lap dash to the line, and pretty quickly it became a 4-car fight for the win. Jeff Morgan, race 2 winner, closing right on in, but everybody else was really asleep on the restart. No one was able to go with his top 4.
And remember, a slow start for our race 2 winner Morgan. He was still trying to work his way back to the lead, and then the 56 car Anthony Compton and Brian Taylor, that bright blue number 77, trying to fight for the minor spots on the podium behind the 2 race leaders. They run up to turn 2. This was the next lap around.
Whoa!
Massive moment for the 56. Great save.
That very easily, Rich, could have ended up on the inside concrete wall, Thomas Mazira style. He ended up there one day, but luckily Compton didn't, and he was down the inside on Taylor at turn 2 in what was a pretty hectic fight to the flag, but Jeff Morgan slipped away and they wouldn't catch him. He would eventually take 2 wins from 3 for the weekend. He'd lead them home. Boylan in second. Compton managed to hang on and finish third. Taylor fourth, and Bob Fraser P5.
There's an old saying in motorsport, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. It's the whole reason why manufacturers invest so much money in racing. But Porsche, well, they like to do things just a little bit differently. So here at Rennsport this weekend, they've constructed a whole new car dealership right next to the racetrack. So this weekend, it just might be win on Sunday, sell on Sunday. Paul, it's a very unusual concept to have a showroom at a racetrack, especially where you can come and buy a car mid-race. Tell us about how this came to be.
Well, this weekend's a celebration of all things Porsche for a start. So we thought, well, we've got race cars at a racetrack. We're celebrating Porsche. Let's bring some road cars to the racetrack. Of course, they're not being raced, but they're on display. And a lot of Porsche aficionados here this weekend. And I guess we're bringing the showroom to the racetrack to give the public a chance to look at our road cars. We've got some great road cars here as well. We've just launched the all-new Cayman, so that really is a centre of attention over in the showroom. So it's all going along really nicely.
What else can we expect to see walking around the showroom?
Lots of glitz and glamour, lots of special cars. We've got a couple of 911s over there that are really special. One with a body kit, which looks really, really good. We've also got the Panamera, which is our luxury sedan, our 4-door sedan, and also the Cayenne, the people's Porsche really, because it's a sports car, it's an SUV, it's a family car, it's everything in one.
The parent company back in Germany be kind of proud of this because at the Nordschleife you can walk around the different car dealerships as well, so there's a little bit of German in that.
There's a lot of German in what we're doing this weekend, especially the name Rennsport. That's German, it means race sport. So we're very proud of what we're doing here this weekend, absolutely.
Well, it's a great weekend at Porsche Rennsport at Sydney Motorsport Park, and it's not just about the action that is on the track in terms of racing, Richard Craill. It's also about regularity, and if you've never seen this before, it's a race that's not a race, but it's a race. Hear me out. This is a case of nominating a lap time for your car and then sticking to it. So the winner is the driver who stays as close to their time as they can. There's penalty points awarded, 1 point gained for every 1/10 of a second over your nominated time, 2 points for every 10th under your nominated time. The aim of the game is to be the most consistent, not the fastest.
And that means that cars like this beautiful Porsche 356 Speedster we were just looking at can compete with modern stuff like the Porsche Cayman and the 911s that are in this Division 1. 3 divisions running here at Rennsport, Aaron, and just allows everybody that runs a Porsche basically to get some track time.
And Division 1 for the older cars, so the 356s from the 40s, 50s and 60s, the first generation and era of 911s from the 60s and the early 70s. And for instance, Stuart Webster here, the 356 Porsche, one of the slowest nominated timed cars, but in the end, because he's done such a good job of staying to that time, in run 2, he was 4th out of a field of 24.
Moving on to the second regularity class. So in this slightly later model cars, the performance took a step forward and the nominated times got that little bit quicker, and the faster you go, the harder it is to be consistent and hit that nominated time to score your points.
And the cars in this category, Rich, mainly from 1974 to about 1994, so a nice blend of 2 decades, 911s, 944s, 968s, all sorts of cars in and among here. And you notice that there's a really great blend, but it's not a hardcore race. There's no one passing here and there. It's a case of keeping to the lap time and doing the best job. 35 cars taking part in Division 2. It was the biggest field of the weekend, and of course some of the familiar names, Richard, that are on the lists of some of these regularity trials we've seen before. Ray Golson, former Bathurst 1000 racer, and his son Graham was in the 3rd division of regularity, which had its final run as the lights started to fade. The lights came on, and it added a little bit more atmosphere to the final session of the day.
Yeah, former V8 racer Mark Poole running amongst the field as well, cutting some laps, and he prepares Porsches out of his Adelaide base now for a couple of different series. Regularity 3 took it a step further. Some great outright cool cars, some more modern machinery. And once again, that pace got a little bit quicker. And some cool names in this too. Aaron Michael Stahl, the well-regarded journalist, road testing a brand new 2013 spec Porsche Cayman. A great way to find out how the new Porsches go.
And there is Graham Golson in that number 1 car. In the end, though, on this run, Tanya Bennett in the number 2 GT3 RS would have the best job, just earning 14 points. Of course, the less points that you get, the better your result. She ended up in front of Michael Stahl on 19 points after 5 laps. So it was all a case of nominating a time, staying to it, even in the fading light, and with a little bit of traffic on the road to contend with too.
And regularity so important to Porsche racing in Australia and around the world. It's in the Porsche pyramid of motorsport, the club level scene, so important to the Porsche brand, and it steps up through the pyramid to GT3 Cup racing, to Carrera Cup, and then the International Porsche Super Cup that runs alongside Formula One.
So that brings to an end an exciting inaugural Porsche Rennsport at Sydney Motorsport Park, a fantastic festival for Porsche racers and enthusiasts alike. A big thanks to Bryony Ingerson, Richard Crowell, Chad Nayland and the whole team. We look forward to seeing what Porsche have in store in the years to come.